Gege Akutami often says, I think, I don't know, or maybe when answering questions about his characters and his story. And I've seen a lot of people really confused by this, being like, what do you mean you don't know? You're the author, bro. Who knows if not you? And this is something that I think the vast majority of authors do. So if you've never written or tried to develop like a story like this, it does seem weird, but authors do this for two primary reasons, and that's to give agency to both their readers and the characters themselves. What do I mean by that? Well, any author worth their salt is going to try and develop three-dimensional characters, characters that actually have depth and nuance and are multifaceted and are like real people, right? That's what makes them interesting. Meaning, characters in a story aren't just robots, right? They aren't just things you can insert into any given scenario and will always get this answer because, oh, this character is a good guy. So we insert him here, he's going to do good guy thing, right? No, you want your character has to have depth and nuance. And just like a person, they have a lot of things that are influencing their decisions. So when you write a character and you spend enough time with them, they become like real in your mind. And you think of them having their own agency. And you think, how would this character react in this situation? The author doesn't just know, they have to think about, okay, yeah, like what would they do there? So Gege is just being true to himself and again, his audience by saying, I think that Gojo would do this. Because in his mind, Gojo is not a robot that will always react to X, Y, and Z with A, B, and C. He's got depth, right? And so he's examining how this might actually happen in that scenario. So this really is just an earnest and respectful way for an author to talk about their characters. Now, I know it's all the rage to just hate on Gege Akutami and his writing, so this will probably fall on deaf ears, and I would just challenge you guys to look up whoever your favorite author is, and I can guarantee you'll see them using this language. Or they'll even talk about how they had one idea for their story, but when they actually got there, their characters made them realize that it would actually be the complete opposite. And that's because after spending so much time with them, they became three-dimensional. They became real, and they realized things wouldn't happen the way that they had planned. But also, like I mentioned, this type of language can be used to help preserve a reader's agency. Most authors after the fact aren't just going to list out a bunch of definitive things that didn't actually take place in the story, but could color someone's experience of the story. Because it's a two-way street, right? Obviously, you need the author to create the story, but once they close the book on it and present it out to the world, that story becomes everyone's story via their own interpretation of it, where they were in life, the lessons they took from it. That is all very subjective, right? And again, any author worth their salt doesn't want to step on anyone's toes in that way, like saying, oh, by the way, this character was secretly a murderer the entire time. It had no influence on the story, but I just want you to know that about them. Like that obviously would then kind of shift and distort a lot of people's experience. Now, I'm not saying, that specific thing was happening with Gege in this moment, but that is why authors often use terms like, oh, I think that this character would do this in this situation, or I'm not sure, they're basically leaving that window open.